Oh yeah, special guest. Hey everyone, I'm Noah Lichtenstein from Crossover VC. In this series, we bring together leaders of the world's top startups and athletes and entertainers at the top of their fields to talk about what drives them, what they can learn from each other, and what the future holds. Today, we're going to be talking about digital health and wellness, and I'm excited to be teaming up with my friends Garrett Temple of the NBA's Brooklyn Nets and his soon-to-be wife, Kara McCullough. Garrett is a 10-year NBA vet and vice president of the NBA's Players Union, and Kara earned her bachelor's degree in radiochemistry and was named Miss USA in 2017. And today we're catching up with Andrew Dudum, a serial entrepreneur and investor and co-founder and CEO of Hims & Hers, one of the fastest growing direct-to-consumer brands in history, with over $200 million in venture capital funding raised and valued at over $1 billion in under 3 years. Andrew, Garrett, Kara, thank you guys so much for taking the time. Before kicking things off, Garrett, I know you've been studying for the LSAT. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys have been using this downtime?
I figured we're going to have at least 2.5 months before it happens. So I love to just at least study for the LSAT. On every other standardized test I've taken, I've never done any prep for it. So I said, why not prep for this one?
Yeah, I dropped out of business school after maybe half of it. So my investors, my board always jokes that I'm really good at the revenue part of the income statement, but pretty bad at the cost side. So like I only have about half of the knowledge there, but
right. She's actually, has a background in science, studied radiochemistry, but she has an entrepreneurial mind. So while we're doing this, she's studying for a real estate license.
Oh,
Downtime.
Sounds like you guys aren't streaming a whole bunch of Netflix during quarantine.
Yeah, just like one show a day.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so Andrew, first of all, we appreciate your time. Anytime we get a chance to talk to somebody that has done what you have done, it's a pleasure and a privilege. So I want to start off by asking, what made you start Hims?
No, it's a pleasure to meet both of you guys, and thank you for taking some time and having a conversation with myself and with Noah. So, with Hims & Hers, the inspiration actually came from my life, and in particular, my older and younger sister. So I've got two very trendy, very cool, much cooler than I am, sisters. And I was essentially sandwiched between the two of them my whole life. So you can imagine I was like 11 or 12, and I was like frosting my tips, and they were like, that is not cool, right? That's not okay. And then I'd get to like 14 and I'd start to smell bad, and they would be yelling at me to like get deodorant, right? And then I was in my teens and I had acne, and they were the first ones to tell me I had acne and the first ones to like line up a whole selection of, anti-oil toners, nighttime moisturizers, whatever it might be. So my whole life I felt like I was, really encouraged to take care of myself and supported to do so. It's funny, when I went to college in Philly, you don't bring moisturizer to the gym a decade ago in Philly. It's not something you do. And so I was that guy who'd pull it out, and I was like putting on some like eye cream, and my buddies, just look at me like I was nuts. And what became really obvious was there's this whole category of products and this whole category of things we worry about. For men, it's, sexual health. It could be hair loss. It could be acne. It could be stamina. It could be sleep. For women, it could be, birth control. It could be UTIs or yeast infections, right? There's this whole category of stuff that we just don't like talking about. And I thought, there's this really interesting opportunity to build a consumer brand that destigmatizes all of that makes it exceptionally normal, that talks about it openly, that leans into it, that makes it funny, that makes it witty, that makes it kind of provocative and irreverent, like have a little fun with it.
Like you said, it's a taboo subject. There are things that you just don't do in the locker room, things that you don't talk about. And I remember when I first realized it was okay to get a pedicure or a manicure. I was my second year in the NBA, and Steven Jackson, who was like supposed to be Mr. Tough Guy in the NBA, one of my best teammates ever, he was like, yeah, I'm about to go get my pedicure. And I was like, You get a pedicure? Like what? He's like, yeah, well, you better take care of your feet. Women like men that take care of their feet. And I use Dove because Dove is good. It makes you smell good. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like that is what it is. So me be like, wow, okay, this tough guy using Dove and getting pedicures, that is something that men can do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I understand that completely.
Yeah, I would just like to add one more thing. One of my biggest pet peeves is Dove, like 10 in 1. You know, you can do shampoo, wash the floor, clean the dog, conditioner. I'm like, ew.
So obviously the him part was big because it wasn't on the market. Was it your sister's idea to incorporate hers as well? Because obviously it came about later on.
So we knew early on when we launched Hims that it was always going to be Hims and Hers. It was actually, before we launched, I got connected to Snoop, who is like one of the most hilarious individuals in the world. And we were debating between different names of the company. And he was the first one who was like, listen, if you do Hims, the second you do it, everyone is going to know you're going to launch Hers. And there's something really powerful about that from a brand standpoint. And I think he was completely right. And so from the beginning, we knew we would. It's a bit different though for women. You know, for the Hers brand, what it's really about is actually making it easier to get some of the harder to get things in a really respectful and affordable way. Things like birth control can still be a pain in the butt for women to get. And so with the Hers brand, the hope is to use telemedicine and the ability to connect you with a doctor from your home to make some of the stuff that's, harder to get access to or easier to treat just much more affordable and kind of respectful of your time. So it's more about getting rid of like the barriers for women that exist for them when it comes to getting medical products.
Leading into that, with this pandemic we have going on, have people been able to utilize that telehealth, maybe help with not having to go straight to the doctor to decide if they have to get tested or not?
I think what's happening with the pandemic is you have a whole bunch of people becoming educated about telemedicine, which is amazing, right? I think for years it's been something that people knew about, but it wasn't exceptionally common. And I think what's happened in the last 2 months has accelerated the learning of what this is, probably in a way that would have taken 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, because I never knew about, I didn't really think that a doctor could really tell me. I'm like, a doctor needs to be here to see
right.
or feel or, feel, hear my chest, all of that type of stuff, when in actuality, there are a lot of things that if this is happening, then it can't be this.
Exactly. So it's amazing. There was a potential for 80% of all of the reasons you go into the doctor, you could do via telemedicine. Cold and flu, sinus infection, acne, aging, melasma, sexual health, even blood tests, right? You can get, and the FDA actually just approved this. You can get a kit sent to your home and you can prick your finger and test for COVID-19, right? And instead of going to the hospital and putting yourself and your community at risk, if you can stay at home and take care of it, it's way better.
Right.
So I think that the pandemic has been an opportunity to talk about the benefits of telemedicine. And so it's been great to be able to help fill that hole during this time when everyone's at home.
Can you speak a little to the role of culture and how you think about that as a leader?
For me, the simplest way to think about it is the types of people you hire and the focus there. Like based on who you hire or based on who you bring onto your team or who's on the court, the culture will be the natural characteristics of those first people. And so it's really critical to make sure you're hiring people in the early days that you want to essentially be influencing the future employees and the future teammates that you have, because it's, you can try to craft culture and you can put things up on the walls of like, here are our mission and here's our values and our vision. But at the end of the day, the people, if they don't instinctively feel it and live it, it won't mesh.
And you've always got those in the NBA too. You got the Shane Battier types, the guys who you need to be that person who goes in and does everything.
Yeah, I think leadership is something I learned, the connection between leadership and culture early on because I had to fight my way through. I wasn't drafted, so I was on a bunch of different teams early on through my first 2 or 3 years, and I was able to see different organizations and the cultures that they had. And the thing that set the Spurs apart from everybody was the culture. And it started from the top down. The ownership gave the president, who was Coach Popovich at that time, the autonomy to do whatever he needed to do. And Pop's biggest thing was bringing people in, like you said, Andrew, that set the tone early on. That's why when Tim Duncan retired, Pop's main thing was he thanked Tim for allowing him to coach him. Because at the end of the day, you know, the coach is the coach, but the players are on the floor. So Tim allowed Pop to coach him, and me being a rookie, I saw Tim Duncan get chewed out by Popovich and take it and receive that. And, you know, first ballot Hall of Famer, he allowed himself to be coached, and it permeated through the team. Luckily here in Brooklyn, that's one of the reasons I picked the Nets, is because Sean Marks came from that Spurs mentality. So the GM gives the autonomy to the coach gives the autonomy to the players, to the leaders of the team, and then it permeates throughout. So
I'm someone that loves to understand like the background or maybe like obstacles or something, or how you overcome things and challenges. Can you think of just 1 or 2 challenges that you overcame that you think is most beneficial to share for maybe just coming from the startup space?
Yeah. I mean, there's like a million, because I
Right.
seem like,
of course, right?
yeah, I seem to mess up just about everything and have to figure it out. So, so when we launched, you know, there were parts of that we didn't know how to scale. We thought we were going to be getting, you know, 5 or 10 people signing up a day, and we got 500 people the first day. And it was like 500 people for like, you know, weeks. And those were like the smallest numbers we've ever had. It was like a 4 or 5 person team. And so, you know, everything broke. And I think one of the things that became really clear is, in startup world, you need to be doing 2 things in parallel. You need to be building what's going to actually execute on tomorrow, because you have 500 people that signed up. And if you can't help them, they're going to be pissed off, and they're going to jump on Reddit, you know, and they're going to start tweeting, and like, it's about to be over, because things happen that fast. But at the same time, you can't be building just for tomorrow and then just for the next day, because you'll be stuck in this loop of like never getting ahead. That was one of the, you know, the biggest learnings I've had about just building something that's growing fast, is the need to kind of be building 2 engines simultaneously that at some point kind of merge into one.
Thank you guys so much for the time. But before I let you go, we end every episode with a rapid fire. And if you guys are ready, we'll dive right in, all right?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do after you wake up?
Drink a bottle of water.
It changes day to day.
Usually get tackled by my fiance, and then I pick up my phone and check out Twitter.
All right, sounds like a good start to the day. All right, what's one thing somebody watching this might be surprised to learn about you?
My dad was the first black basketball player at LSU. He integrated the program at LSU.
Right.
I formerly worked in nuclear energy, so that can be something that a lot of people don't know.
I was a cello player for about 15 years before starting companies.
Wow.
15 years, yeah, dang.
What's your quarantine cheat food?
Butter pecan ice cream, Haagen-Dazs. Got to be Haagen-Dazs though. Butter pecan, that's my thing.
I've been sneaking vegan marshmallows and cereal whenever I can.
I've been doing an Oreo every night before bed.
What's one? Wow. What's one app on your phone you just can't live without?
I'll say the Holy Bible app.
Presently, Hugh, we don't turn on any light switches in here. We just go to our phone and turn on all the lights and turn them off in the house.
All right. Also sponsored by Philips. Got it.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm sponsoring Slack today. I think our team just totally relies on it. So it's the way I stay in contact with all of them.
During all this craziness, what's the one thing you haven't been able to do that as soon as this ends, you're just raring to get out and do?
I'm a homebody, but I wanna go home, see my family,
anything dealing with outside, aquatics, swimming, the beach, I want to go there.
I think family too. I've got a ton of family across the state, and we've been trying to stay away from each other as long as we can. So I think that's probably the first thing we do.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough. Andrew and Kara and Garrett, thank you guys so much for taking the time. Stay safe out there, and look forward to getting to see you guys in person when all this ends.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Noah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again for stopping by the crossover. You can give our guests a follow here and here, and check back with us soon for more founder stories.